Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TC Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I want to just kind of share my thoughts on some of the recent, I guess you could call it discourse in the Flesh and Blood community, or I don't even call it discourse, I really call it opinions. But I kind of just wanted to use my platform to try to talk about hopefully some perspective and some positivity and some objectivity with some of these just overall overarching comments about the state of the game. This isn't meant to be a rant video. This isn't meant to be a hot take video. This is literally meant to hopefully give, from my speculation, my opinion, some context to some of these things, and then just give you some different ways to look about it, and also give the community like a more positive kind of just take on things, because that's one thing I've been trying to do with my channel, especially like the last 6 months. So we'll get right into it. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Feel free to check out my other videos where I do like other structured content. I normally don't do videos like this, but I wanted to do it today because I felt like I could use my platform in a good way. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out the Patreon and the Discord down below. We got our Rockney here with us today, hanging out. So yeah, there's been a lot of opinions. I'm not going to go like down the list. I have a notes here in front of me on the right of my screen, so I can kind of talk through it structurally and efficiently. Some of the big things have been talked about is like how fast heroes are attaining living legend, like really suddenly. I saw a tweet. It was good information, but I saw a tweet of how like Lexi was at like whatever it was, like 400 LL points 3 months ago, and now she's living legend as of in 4 days. And then Jeremiah's at 500 right now, and she was at like 126 or something like that. So the speed of living legends is a topic people are talking about. Lexi being the top deck for the past 8 months is something that people have been talking about, or 6 months, 6 to 8 months, and then, or one of the top decks, right? And then people just talking about general power level, about how the game, the last few sets since Dynasty, people were talking about is saying that the game isn't as, the power levels went way down, so those talented heroes are going even crazier. Anyway, we're going to address all that today. It's not going to be like an hour-long video, but this might be a little bit longer of a video, so hopefully you can stay with me because I'd love to hear your opinions on it down in the comments below. So I'm talking about three things: the living legend system, Lexi being the top deck, and then the talent block, right? And by talent, I mean like Monarch and Tails mainly, right? So first is living legend. So even with the sudden rotation, I think living legend is still way more stable and is the most stable thing we have in card games. I love Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood is my main card game. But I love other card games too. I play One Piece, I play My Hero Academia, I play Grand Archive. I play Digimon. I don't play actually a lot of Magic. It's like the one game I don't enjoy playing that much. But I've played a lot of card games, and I've played a lot of card games at like the event level, like regional event level. I've played Digimon regional events, My Hero Academia, Flesh and Blood, and I'm hopefully going to a Grand Archive one here soon. So I will say, out of all the things, like some companies take the aggressive ban stake in order to keep things in check, right? Like Bandai. Bandai is very well known for being aggressive with their bans, and that's not a good thing. And we'll kind of talk about that when we get to the talent block section, right? Then you have other stuff like Magic, which does like rotation for standard, which I compare Classic Constructed to standard in Magic, right? But that's also, it feels bad because when you buy a deck or buy an archetype, you pretty much know that a good portion of those cards are going to be unplayable in less than 2 years. If you get in at the absolute perfect time, right, they have a 2-year life cycle. So that's always also, it feels bad. And overall, even with the sudden rotations of like heroes, I think Living Legend is still more stable than like standard Magic. It's more stable than My Hero Academia system. Like My Hero Academia, as much as I love the system, they're Bandai, right? Or Universes, not Bandai, but they take like a Bandai like system where they don't rotate stuff out until like super late, like 10th set or something like that, I think is what people have told me. But the problem with not rotating things out as quickly is you get what My Hero Academia has right now, which is a little bit of a daunting like game to get into, because you have 100+ characters to choose from. Characters seem to kind of overlap each other and do the same thing. It gets really muddied and really boring really fast. I don't want to say boring because I love the game, I play it, but it can get boring for a lot of players. So I don't think that's a good system. I think the standard system for Magic is terrible. Rotating stuff out guaranteed every 2 years feels really bad. There's very little reason to invest decks unless you're just this hyper competitive player that absolutely is enthralled with the game, which isn't everybody. Um, and then also for the Living Legend system, I think, and this is just my opinion, they haven't came out and said this. I think there has been confirmation that the Living Legend format that's coming out and being debuted at Worlds is eventually going to be at like the calling level, eventually, and it obviously will be at armory levels and stuff like that. And I think the Living Legend format will fix a lot of the gripes that people are having with Living Legend system as a whole, right? So if right now if I pick up Dromai, who's at 496 points right now, if Dromai wins the calling Melbourne this weekend and then Worlds, she will acquire 300 points, and then she has a week of ProQuest, which let's just say she acquires 50 from that, right? Let's say she gets 25 wins, which I think she could very easily. I think that she'll be at what 850 points. She'll be close to Living Legend post Worlds. And she'll probably Living Legend by like just after Heavy Hitters releases. I think is very capable. So for someone to tell someone right now, like, hey, buy this Dromai deck, but it's unplayable in 6 months, that does feel bad. However, I think the Living Legend format, as it expands and grows, will create a more sense of agency for people to buy into decks. Because if I know that I can buy in a Dromai right now and play her for however long, or even not, let's say Dromai, because she's the top deck, right? Let's say like Bravo or like Katsu or Phi, who eventually will probably live in Legend, I'd say in a year or so, maybe a little bit longer. At least you know that even after they live in Legend, I'll be able to play them in the Living Legend format. So I'll be able to go to the Calling Dallas and play in CC with my whatever deck, but I'll also get to this if I want to play in the Living Legend big event where I can play my old Dromai deck or Lexi deck or what have you. And I think the expansion and growth of that format, and this is just my opinion, is very key to help not fix the Living Legend system, but make the Living Legend system make more sense. And I don't know if LSS is doing, like, if that's their plan. They just haven't officially stated, saying like, hey, LL format's going to be kind of our answer to the sudden rotation, or if that's just internally what they're saying, right? Or if it's just an incidental thing, whatever it may be. But regardless, yes, are there flaws in every single rotation system? If there was a perfect rotational system, every card game would use it or try to use it, right? There is no perfect rotational system, but I think that this is by far the most solid one we've ever had. And so I want people to just try to remember that. Barring your frustration, I think that this is still the best system we've had. And I think that the price of the game is going down. So telling people to invest in a deck isn't as bad. And then I'm going to kind of be like a slight asshole here. If you want to play competitive card games at the top level, like, yes, Flesh of Blood is significantly more expensive. It's getting better. But you got to deal with that. You got to deal with the constant changing of decks and not being able to play your favorite deck all the time. If you're wanting to be a specialist, then if I want to play Arachne, let's just say in a mystical magical world, Arachne is the number one deck in the game. And I want to play Arachne and Arachne Living Legends and they Living Legend. If I love the hero that much, I'm going to play it in Living Legend format all the time, right? Like Katsu. When Katsu Living Legends, hopefully it's a long time from now, when he Living Legends, I'm going to play him in Living Legend format. I'm going to play him in Living Legend format right now. I'm going to play the Crouching Tiger build. But I'm going to play him regardless, right? So the whole thing of, like, I've seen some opinions say that, this really hurts specialists in the game and people don't want to spend money and play a deck they really love, right? If they know it's going to live in Legend. I just disagree with that. I think, like, if I want to play Katsu, I can build you a budget Katsu list that is competitive at an armory level, 100% competitive for under $100. I can, especially with the new mask from Roundtable of Rate, the Tellurian Community College, and then also stuff like Pouncing Links. I can 100% build you a CC deck for $100. You play that for 6 months, you like it, you buy into the deck. If the deck Living Legends, play it in the Living Legend format. I don't see the issue with that, right? Like, you can't expect your favorite deck. Like, yes, you want to play it for longer than a year or two. I'd say longer than a year, ideally. But you can't expect it to, like, last forever. And the fact that they're making a format that allows you to make it last forever feels really freaking good. So that's what I'm going to say about the Living Legend system. I think people are very much overlooking, like, the positives that Living Legend has and the other things that are coming up in the game to help alleviate some of those pains that people are talking about. That's just my opinion. The second thing is Lexi being the top deck for a while. So this one's a little bit more, not controversial, but a little bit more highly speculative. So when I say these things, I am completely my opinion. I have no actual, like, quote or nothing to back this, right? Like, this is completely me just thinking this, right? So the problem, how about this? Okay, I want to order this correctly. So this is my first thing. I think this is the speculative thing. I think LSS at some point realized, and this kind of goes with the talent block topic we're going to talk about too. They realized at some point that the power level of Tails and Monarch was too much, right? At some point they realized like that talent block of Uprising, really it started Monarch, Tails, and Uprising created this kind of like just power level they didn't want in the game, right? So when they realized that, again, this is speculative, their fix was, okay, we're going to lower the power level for the next year and a half of sets. And in 2024, we're going to go in this new wide range, lots of heroes, different direction with a new scaled down power level that makes sense and have a fun, unique, and balanced experience, right? Not just balanced from a meta perspective, but balanced from a power level perspective. So you have a deck like Lexi. I think Lexi, they couldn't aggressively ban Lexi or try to hinder Lexi because they want to get away from the talent heroes. They want it out of the game. Not because they hate it or don't like it, but because if they want to move on with this new direction from a power level standpoint and from a design perspective, they need to get rid of talents. They got rid of Oldheim. They got rid of Briar. Fi's getting there. Dromai is going to be there in 6 months or less. They got rid of Lexi. They got rid of Lexi, but they needed to do that. They got rid of Prism. They got rid of Chain, Rip Bolton and Levia, but that's a different story. But no, I think that they wanted those out of the game, out of the CC format, not out of the game, out of the CC meta. And they wanted to do that in a natural way, though, and they want to stick to the Living Legend system. So in order to that, you just got to let them Living Legend, right? If you aggressively ban Lexi, then you're keeping those old cards. You're keeping that old power level in the game in some way. And I think they just want it out. So that's just my opinion. It sucks. It's a tough swallow for them to. It's a tough pill for them to swallow and for players to swallow. But it's just going to be better. The problem is like it's not that the power level right now is low of the last few sets. It's that's now the normal power level they want, and it's just not comparable to the old stuff, the talent stuff, right? So we just need to weather through this. Like Lexi's about the Living Legend. Dromai's going to be close. And then I think you're going to see a lot of cool stuff come up and a lot of unique design space. Stuff like Bright Lights. Yes, is Bright Lights as a set in a vacuum powerful? I don't think so. I think it has some powerful elements to it, but yes, it is lower. But that also, I think, is going to be their new norm, where it's not powerful, like not fun. There's so many fun elements of Bright Lights. It's just not broken like talents were. So that's where I think. Also, when it comes to Lexi specifically, right, if we're just talking like really minor, there's in my opinion, there were 3 bans they could make that would actually hurt Lexi's power level and keep her around. Now, the fact of keeping her around, we've already established, I don't think is the right call. Just let her Living Legend, right? That's just how it is, right? But there's 3 cards. The number 1 card that they need to do something about is Voltaire. They can't ban Voltaire because for several reasons. One, it would just chop the legs off of Lexi. She would be unplayable. Nearly unplayable. The next best Lexi deck is the Death Dealer Ice build, which is very inconsistent at a competitive level and doesn't work. So you're just going to cut it out. Second reason is for Voltaire not being able to be banned. It's her signature weapon. You're going to ban the signature weapon of the hero. That's a big feels bad. It's another reason why Rosetta Thorn, I think, didn't ever get banned, even though it was extremely above rate, is because it's a signature weapon, and they don't want to ban signature weapons for the heroes. You're basically banning the hero themselves. So that's one thing. The second card, the second culprit, 3 of a kind. The problem with banning 3 of a kind is it hurts the ability to make the class feel powerful. What people don't realize is, yes, Outsiders gave Lexi a lot of toolbox cards and a lot of consistency. But Ranger inherently is a below-rate class, right? Like, Infecting Shot Red is 1 for 5, right? Voltaire gives it Go Again, which makes it above rate. But the card on face is 1 for 5. If you don't either have it in Arsenal to start on your turn or a way to put it in Arsenal without loading your bow, like Riptide can, obviously, it's technically a 2 for 5, which is now below rate. So Ranger naturally has below rate cards. So they had to give it effects that would make it above rate. Things like on hits of infecting shot, on hits of frailty shot. The reason there's so many on hits with Lexi is because at a value level, her cards are below rate. But Voltaire and the on hits make it on or above rate, right? But if you ban 3-Oak, you ban one of the premier fun, feels good cards of the game. I hate Rain Rager 3 of a kind turns. I have nightmares about that shit, right? I get it. I understand why people are frustrated. I have literally tweeted like a month ago, I can't wait till Lexi's gone, right? And that's another thing for me. I didn't say this at the beginning of the video. I meant to say it. I've had negative times too, right? Dusk Till Dawn was like my most negativity towards the game. And it wasn't negative like, I'm not playing, I hate this game. It was just very much like I was critiquing because I said I truly think Dusk Till Dawn was meant to be a supplemental set and they changed it, you know. And I was very vocal about that on Twitter, and Brian Gottlieb put me in my place, as he should, and said, no, it wasn't. You're wrong. And I'm glad he did that. So everyone's had negative points, right? So don't worry about that. But, yeah, I think if you ban 3 of a kind, then you create like not fun and for the class. Like that people want to play powerful cards, not broken cards, just fun, powerful cards. And 3 of a kind is a fun, powerful card, right? I'm a ninja player. Playing the Bonds of Ancestry turn that gives me an automatic tutor is a powerful card, right? With 5, playing Lava Burst and Spreading Flames and, you know, these crazy cards are a powerful card. People want to feel powerful in their decks. You know, Bravo playing Starstruck is super powerful card. That card is busted, but it's so good. You know, people want to play that, so you can't get rid of those. And the final thing is Codex, but Codex would have hurt too many other heroes. It would have hurt Azalea. It hurts Riptide indirectly. It hurts Uziri. It hurts Arachne. Right? You can't do it. You can't do that. So that's it. The other thing is Lexi. The final thing I'll say about Lexi being one of the top decks for like the last 6 to 8 months is Lexi is probably the most consistent living legend hero we've ever had in the game. I think her ceiling is not as high as like Old School Chain or Starvo. However, her floor is the highest of any living legend hero, in my opinion, which is what makes her so good. However, she doesn't have she's still not the best hero we've ever had, in my opinion, the most oppressive, the most unplayable against hero. She actually has had, up until recently, like the last 3 months, she actually had pretty haphazard conversion. She couldn't, like, there was a time where Lexi was considered the best deck, right, like 4 or 5 months ago, but she couldn't win the big tournaments, which is why she didn't gain points. But then all of a sudden she started going nuts recently, and that's what made it bad. But so it makes it's funny because people were frustrated, including myself, about Lexi, but you know, she's had trouble converting at times at big events, and that was actually like a big discussion point. And so that's my thought on Lexi. Hopefully those thoughts made sense. The final thing I want to talk about is the talent block. I did not play Old School Magic, but I know of it. We're in the Urza's Saga block of Flesh and Blood, right? That was the talent block. The talent block, the Monarch Tails Uprising was the Urza Saga block of Fab, right? Not so much in staples for years to come, but in power level. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Some of you old Magic junkies, please tell me if I'm wrong there. But again, like I said in the Lexi topic, LSS realized at some point that the power level of Tails and Prior was too much. So their fix was lower the power level over the next 2 years of sets, then expand the hero pool in 2024, create a new norm of power for Flesh and Blood, and then, quite frankly, never go fucking back to that power level. That's my opinion. That's speculative. I do not have any quotes or anything that points to that was LSS's operation choice. That's just what I think they did. The other route was aggressive bans, right? Really aggressive bans on talents, which also sucks. It sucks for the people who love those heroes because it undercuts their joy, and it sucks because the heroes stick around anyway, and so do the cards. So that route doesn't work. So the part, like I said, that's tough to swallow for both players and the staff is that they have to let the old talent-based heroes just naturally work their way out. Once they do, they can establish this new norm, right? If they ban Voltaire, if they ban Tome for Dromai, whatever, right? If Lava Burst for 5, I'm just naming powerful cards, then the plan that they set out is null and void, and it makes those classes just feel shitty to play, and you don't want to do it. So aggressive bans in rotation, not the right play. We've seen that in Bandai. It sucks. They literally this week just banned Newgate in One Piece and the Nami Searcher card and like another card, like staples, like out of nowhere on a random Wednesday night. It sucks. Players don't like that because it doesn't really balance the meta out too much, to be honest. There's going to be another powerful deck, like yellow now is going to be freaking busted in one piece. But all it does is make it feel really freaking bad for the players who enjoy that hero. Just the Living Legend system is there for a reason. Let it do its thing. And then, I think that a reactive approach is also bad. I'm okay with them kind of just letting the talent block rotate itself out. We have a year of really busted stuff, and that's kind of it. So that's my 3 points. I will say this, too, if I can sound soapboxy for 2 seconds. I'm trying to keep this in a positive light and just give perspective. There's other ways to play this game. You were talking to one of the most competitive people in the world. If I lose in tic-tac-toe, I get pissed off. Truly, I get upset. But there's other ways to play this game. There's Blitz. There's, the Solarian Community College kit. There's Ultimate Pit Fight. There's now about to be Living Legend format. There's so many ways to play this game, and people want to play at the highest competitive level. I get it, but in a high competitive environment, you're going to have time in any environment. Take out card games. Go to sports, regular sports. There was times where the Lakers or whoever, insert team here and insert sport here, was winning every single year, and it gets bland. But that's how competitiveness goes. There's going to be times where it's super balanced and it's everyone has a shot, and there's going to be times where people come in and absolutely kill it. Right? It's just how it is, and you have to understand that is the tax you have when you play a highly competitive thing. It's just how it is. That's my opinion. But regardless, I didn't want this to be a negative thing. I didn't want it to be like me ranting. It's not a hot take video. It's just to try to give my perspective on why some of the things are being done. Again, this is an opinion-based thing, speculative. I do not have a quote from LSS or a insert or whatever. This is me, Dylan, talking as a content creator in the game that plays all the time, as well as someone who's also a marketing manager and who has done campaign level stuff and done directional, operational level stuff, and kind of has an understanding of that at a, at least a decent level. So hopefully these made sense. I will say I am not invalidating anyone's frustration. Like Brian Gotling just tweeted, I think he was like, this is a good sign. People care about the game. They love the game. This is a sign of our growth and success that people have these opinions. They're taking them in a positive light and seeing what they can do to make adjustments where they see fit. And for you all out there, I am not saying you shouldn't be upset. You can more than be upset, and I'm not going to discredit you for doing so. I'm just trying to give you a different perspective is all. Hopefully this made sense. I don't do videos like this a whole lot. I try to stay super positive on the channel, and I tried to stay super positive in this video and just give completely objective thoughts. But I would love to know y'all's opinions in a positive manner. If you're going to comment on this video, do it in a positive manner. Give an objective take of why you think what you think. If it just pisses you off, sure, use the comment as a vent. I'd rather you vent to me than at LSS and ups, and just ping the people that are working their butts off every day for it. So thank y'all so much for taking the time to hear me ramble for 23 minutes. Try to make this video not too long. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for supporting all the content. Keep supporting this game. This game is amazing. Even with the slight friction points we have this year, this game is still literally in a better spot than every other card game. There's only, if I was being completely objective, the only card game, in my opinion, that has as much room to shine right now is Grand Archive, but they're super early, and we got to see how they grow. I think they have a good shot, too, but that's just my opinion. Thank y'all so much. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If not me, it's totally fine. Leave another like, comment, or subscribe on another creator's page so we get more people seeing this game. Go to their stuff, leave them a comment. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time on TC Talk. Thank y'all so much.